It goes simultaneously, like, now.
Yeah, it started live. Huh? Give me 1 second. Good evening, everyone. We welcome you all to OrthoTV online Monday motivation webinar. Today, we have a special guest with us. He is a doctor. He's Dr. Ravi Modali. For his introduction, I will hand over to our convener, Dr. Tushar Agarwal.
Hi, thanks Neeraj, thanks OrthoTV. And now it's becoming a habit to come here on Monday. Once the COVID gets over and we become happier, I guess we'll be missing this motivational session. Uh, no matter how many Mondays we spend, the COVID challenge is very big, right, Ravi? And no matter how many people are kind enough to come here and guide us, every Monday we are ready for fresh learnings. So today, my very dear class fellow from MBBS days, Dr. Ravi Modali is here. He used to be my MBBS class fellow, and then he's gone on to become a lifestyle physician. It's a very, very unique specialty. And way before COVID hit us, he was already into this kind of a holistic medical approach, a holistic approach to feeling good about yourself and getting your environment all sorted. So I think I seeked him out, and he was kind enough to say that he'll come on board and give us this talk. Only one request he has is that we should be having pen papers, because he's going to give us a list of some exercises which is a sort of source of introspection. And if we do those exercises, then the next 1 hour will be very, very well spent. Right, Ravi? So then over to you, Ravi, and we'll start with the program.
Thank you, Neeraj, and thank you, Tushar. Nostalgic, yeah, remembering the old days as usual. And this discipline of lifestyle medicine is actually not so different than what we have learned. I mean, in simple terms, I would say this is, practicing physiology, biochemistry, and things like that. But yeah, I mean, the lifestyles have been in the talk more on the negative side. Many lifestyles have been the primary cause of most of the diseases, otherwise we call preventable. But we'll get a sense of, what are the new, I mean, these sciences are based on longevity studies, to put it in a simple way. And I happen to be one of the first few doctors to get this international credential, and happy for that. So this topic of refreshing the whole self, essentially, it's an experience-based session. So I request all of you to just relax. It is a fag end of the day for people who have worked since morning. And also, if at all some of you are going for the night shifts, I'm sure you'll take some positive message where it's ready to practice type of understanding. So, friends, let's move ahead. I give you the context of the intention is refreshing your whole self. Your whole self will be able to repair the systems. We need to move to the new normal. And one of the key objective for me is to keep health in the comfort zone, both for the doctor and their patients, and thereby keeping the disease in the control zone. To nowadays, COVID is the topmost thing in our minds. So as I move ahead, I just wanted to bring the context that the style of this experience is going to be study, play, learn, and think of changing. Study all the slides I'm going to present. You might criticize, you might like, play with it. See how it is happening to you in your experiences, what you have observed. You'll pick up your personal learnings, and then you're ready to make a conscious change, with full of will and intention. And the approach will be, I think, in your mind, you will be tracing certain things. Okay, this is what the experiences I had. You might track back a few of the experiences. Mainly, you want to traject forward into the new normal. So that's going to be the design. And I just wanted to share my credentials, what I've done, not talking too much about it. These are the basic norms of presenting. You should know who am I. So those are my credentials, the work, what I have done. Spent a lot of time in insurance in India, which brought me to this discipline of lifestyle medicine. And I have a few disclaimers. I work for these associations today. Okay, so let me open up with a question. The point in the center, there is a question mark. So what is the one thing in our human ability which, if we do it, it calms us down, it takes us close, it befriends people, it creates small moments of happiness. Just try to spend 10 seconds and see what comes to your mind. What is the one thing what you do which calms you down, befriends towards people, and the micro moment of happiness? Just answer to yourself. I mean, nothing of this is what I'm going to ask you to share it aloud or in the group. So if you got the answer, just a smile. Just imagine, if you smile, then what are the good things which happen? And something more deeper, if you smile with your full mind, soul, and heart, which comes naturally to you, that actually spells out the character strength. Your smile always is your character strength made by our mind, heart, and soul. That's the natural smile what comes, which has the magical thing. And on the same breath, I would like to share one affirmation that we see three different worlds. One is what we look with our eyes, we almost get tired of it. One is the world, what we see with our eyes closed. Ourselves, we feel within us. That's another world what we live in. And when you see yourself in a clean mirror, the reflection, I'm sure as you watch to the mirror longer, first you see your physical self, then you see your emotional self, then you see your soulful and varieties of that, as you get that. So these are the three different worlds, and we are going to get a sense of how these experiences will be in the consequent experiences. So one request and the suggestion, try smiling for the next 60 minutes and see if you can go beyond. And this should be natural. It should not be taxing your muscles of your face. Continuing with this, let's come to the realities what we face in clinical practice. It always existed this way. We face diagnosis for which we give prescription and consequently procedures. All of us are orthopedics here, so the procedures are the key thing. That is what this line we know. The second line, the patient, no one likes to be a patient that is suffering around health and they need care. This is the second line. And the third line, it's a person who has become the patient and has a diagnosis. The person struggles in life. Taking treatment is challenging, suffering is a challenge, and there are needs. So if we are able to address all these 9 elements, essentially we are coming close to making a patient happy and worth the service what we have given. So let's pick up these 3 things: symptoms, sufferings, and struggles. What happens in our practice is the virtues what we use, which naturally comes to us, and we put it, most of them abstract. The transference happens to the patient, the sufferer. Of course, our intention is to reduce the symptoms are main, the clinical practice, what we do, but how much it addresses the sufferings, how much it addresses the struggles, all that matters on how people take, how patients take the treatment. There's a transference of care and something reflects back. What something comes back to you, either a thank you or I'm happy to pay the bill. It was expensive, but I'm happy that you have helped me. So varieties of these reflections. So let's try to explore a little more. So I'm going to share from the evidences what we have gathered, the 10 unique virtues, what has been known to make the therapeutic relationship dynamically functional and always effective. Now here there is a small there's a personal work what you can do. You have a paper with you, you have a pencil or a pen with you. Try to write this circle, and as you're writing each word, genuine purpose, affectionate, openness, as you try to write this diagram, try to connect yourself. These are very simple terms. So please take a minute to write all the terms and try to relate your own meaning to all these 10 elements which frame your virtues of practice. Please take around 20 seconds. So as you're writing the terms, the next activity is try to see how this relates. Now, I have some specific points. While you're using these virtues in your practice, when you're relating to your patients, you're transferring compassion, you're transferring empathy, you're transferring trust. And in return, if people are able to reflect back trust, worth for the services what you're giving. And the most important part, consent. Consent is not the legal consent on paper. Here, what matters is always what matters is the psychological consent, which comes if your virtues are practiced well. Now, with that intention in the mind, I mean, one point of what I want to bring in here is the end of treatment is not necessarily a bill, and the payment of the bill and the relationship ends. Essentially, if you have done really something good, it's a lifelong memory what should actually happen. And that's the intention for all of us. But if we make it happen and the patients respond that way, it's a much better world. We did not fall into conflicts and the legal issues. Okay, coming back. Now you have the 10 virtues, what you have mentioned, and there are lines, what you see. Each of the line, you can actually self-rate. So 0 being towards the center and 10 the maximum. How good are you in each of the virtue? You can self-rate. 10 means your best, like let's take genuine purpose. When you're treating a person, your purpose is genuine, 100% all the time. Then you're scoring yourself 10. If you say, sometimes it happens, sometimes it's tough to do, then maybe somewhere between 5 and 7. Or it was never your intention and you're clear about that for yourself, scoring somewhere between 0 and 3. So that's the way to understand the scale and try to give your own self-rating to each of these 10 virtues. Please take around 30 seconds time, your personal time. This is a personal experience time, you're discovering yourself. So as you self-rate, I'm going to give an example of what one person could have self-rated themselves. This is just an example, just to give you the comfort that whether you're doing the right way or not. Please take 20 seconds more. This is just an example. Once you finish the class, you can spend a lot of time trying to discover yourself by self-rating. But just for the experience, please complete this in the next 10 to 15 seconds. Self-rating each of the virtue for yourself. No one is going to ask you. This is purely your personal discovery. You can keep it for yourself. So friends, I will go ahead. If you haven't completed, you can keep it at the end of the class and you can complete it to be more genuine. But for whoever has scored yourself right now, now the thing is, you can connect each of the dots by just creating the shape as what I have done. So there are two things what come up. One is what is the things in between. So suppose here the genuine purpose was rated around 7. Affection here was rated around, say, 8. Openness was rated around, say, 3. Honest, around 7. Authentic, around 8. Care, I care for the patient, around, say, 7. Understanding, I have the best understanding of the patient in myself, around 9. Less tolerance, less kindness, less acceptance of the patient and as a whole together. So that's the characterization of these. And when you think for yourself, the center, within this diagram, that is your core self. If you try to give words, characterize this, what am I type of a thing, then what is there in the center, it characterizes your personal virtues, the way it stands by your own self-rating assessment. And there is another piece. Suppose you are thinking of maximizing every or each of the 10 virtues, then that is a circle. And there is a gap between the inner shape and the outer circle. That is the opportunity what you have. So you can choose, you can choose one element and say, if I improve on this, how would it feel? Say openness. Openness was 3. and how the three can become five. Can I be a little open when I'm talking to my patient, the next patient I see? What difference could it make? Can I tolerate a little more? Yeah, I'm in a hurry. But when the patient is in trouble, which I can see patient is struggling, can I just listen 2 minutes more and try to understand? And then one nice statement from my virtues. I will keep few words from my character strengths, my virtues in the center. Those words I will repeatedly use. Now, these good words come from that center, the shape, what you have, which is your natural best. So these are the ways how you see and try to discover yourself. So if you come to the larger circle, the symptoms, suffering, and struggles will keep coming down. Will become smaller and smaller, and that's where the impact you're creating. This is a way how the frameworks help us to discover our own virtues a little more easily than just thinking and imagining things and try to bring out something. Okay, well, let's explore a little more. What you're going to experience right now is going to make the previous discovery a little more easier. Let's try to appreciate this framework. Who am I? So it was yourself. And if you had to talk about yourself, I'm sure you'll talk 10 sentences and then you'll start thinking, or where should I start from? Things become easy when you have a shared self, the closest partner, typically a spouse or a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You open up with a lot many things. You have a shared self. Everyone has a shared self within themselves. And you know much better when your closest person talks about you, or you converse with them, or you think about them. One simple activity is like this. Ask a question and look at what response you can get. So in this exercise, what you can do is the shared self is within you. Yeah, if you think of the nearest person, what comes to your mind is what the activity here. Tomorrow, when you actually want to try out these things, you actually ask your closest person about this and get a real sense of what they have to say. So an example is, you ask your girlfriend or boyfriend, can I help you? Or can you excuse me from this particular job? And listen what comes back to you. Yeah? So this is one experience which gives a little more insight about what you are. Your professional self, typically your patients. A sample question could be, ask your patients to self-report their status of COVID-19 and how frankly does it come? How much you're able to believe. Go back to that relationship, the previous slide, like virtues, how it comes up, how the trust gets enabled. Today it is important. And so very sensitive, but virtues can make it happen. Social self, when you're among people, try sharing wisdom about social distancing is not necessarily about you separate from people. It's essentially about physical distancing. And online connect with people should continue. And same with the medical care. The telemedicine is on. We'll know a little bit more about telemedicine later. So what do you learn together when you share wisdom about physical distancing and online consultation, online connect with your patients? Global self. Every country is talking to each other. Think of, we are all moving towards a new normal. If you had adopted the new normal, what is the value? How easy it is, how difficult it is. And then the mirror, the magical mirror. With all these insights, what you have, look at yourself in the mirror and see what discovery you can have for yourself about the new normal, which is you. So while you do this activity, I'm sure little thoughts would have come to your mind, but please try to do it. Spend this time with actually all these people and see what insights it brings to you. Varieties of emotions, a lot of mood changes, a lot of pleasing things, a lot of new things, surprising things. Many things will emerge. All these are real. Friends, I'm talking about the power of centering practices. The ability to see yourself as you are. Nothing what about this, but truly about if you're able to see yourself clearly with your near and dear, where you can share a little more deeper. This is the power of centering practices, and the magic what it can do is Your virtues will reflect like these when you're dealing with your patients. Peace, alignment, rhythm. You see yourself as a whole self. So, with this spirit, if you're able to connect your patients, what gets transferred? Genuine purpose, hope, belief, all the good things what you talked about. And what reflects back? Faith in your treatment, belief. Outcomes is not in our hands, but people can relate with the care what is coming through you. Coming to the elephant in the room, COVID-19 pandemic. I think most of us will relate to what is happening in the international level about quarantine, and then in the macro environment between states also there seems to be lockdown, and right now we're looking at exiting human to human contact, this life-threatening community-related coronavirus spread within societies. We want to flatten the pandemic curve. Friends, this circle onwards is where we are stuck. Economy, patients returning back to the hospitals in the new normal. What are going to be the new ways, taking care of all the precautions? Routine ways of working of life has become risky. People with obesity, diabetes, hypertension are at more risk than we've been tolerating all these things, that little sufferings. But with COVID-19, these are the scenarios where the risk is going up higher. It's a fear-driven society we are living in, and we are doctors. Human movement is restricted, personal protective equipments, hand sanitizers. Doctors are fully clad with varieties of PPEs when they're in the hospital, not an easy state. It all comes to how an individual said. I want to ask one question here. Is it that the virus is behaving differently in each person? Can't really say. Is the immune level of each person, the way they are practicing their defenses, the way they are seeing life, the positive attitude, is that making a difference? Whether a person will live, survive, or perish? I think a lot of there's things there to explore. So many things, they gravitate down to personal responsibility, taking care of ourselves, immunity, hygiene. So let's look at a little understanding about how we can understand in a simple way. The framework is going to be the same. There's a circle and a scoring, but the elements what I brought out are, let's read from bottom and left onwards. Online presence, which is the order of the day. If physical distancing is a necessity for months to come or years to come, online presence has to become the order of the day. It's new, it is tough, it is not easy. Screen continuously, strain to the eyes, but that is a necessity. And then what is on the left? Mindful cognition, being here and now, being present. Each day morning, we have to get up and see the Arogya Setu app. What has been the new cases? What is the score each day? Like that. There are elements around this. I would request you again, use your paper and pencil and try to put these elements in this graphical form in your paper and self-score. Where do you stand? All these are self-explanatory terms. Please take 30 to 40 seconds to write this and self-score. Where do you stand? 10 being the best, 0 being the least. Psychosocial economy, the way we earn and maintaining working relationships, we have to revive our economy. Rigor in adopting the new normal. Either we get tired or we feel hopelessness, or we actually keep the momentum on. Vitality of our body systems. So not much of travel outside and all, body systems can weaken, but we don't want to allow that to happen. We want to do some physical activity, tire at home, sweat out, and keep our body systems on. Metabolic energy that beats fatigue. We don't want to overfeed ourselves and feel tired. We want to keep the caloric balance good so that we can actually live each day better. Life has a rhythm which is changing. We have to change to the new normal. What we do in the morning, what we do in the afternoon, what we do in the night. All there is subtle changes which are happening. Find new meaning and purpose of what we are doing. And emotional resilience to beat stress, anxiety, and depression. How much tolerance we learn. How much of, like these Monday motivation sessions, I think it's happening regularly. It's helping you a lot around managing the emotional resilience. So again, you'll have your circle within. The circle within characterizes what are the unique strengths what you have. And if you look at covering the 10, you'll see what is possible, which can be achieved. And you have your strengths and the opportunities. And again, you can choose one. Say here, if you can choose online presence, if we are not used to it, but that's a necessity. What is the thing you can do to improve the score from whatever 2 it is to come back to 4 or 5? What are the 2 small things what you can do tomorrow, day after, so that you keep moving in the positive direction? That's something about wheel of wellness, which I thought it appropriate to share. And in simple terms, you can see, try to wake up each day and say, let me make it a fit day. Let me try to be more active today. Let me end my day in a satisfied mood, and check out at the end of the day whether, did I live a fit day? Was I active enough? And was I satisfied enough today? That type of personal experience. Friends, you would have heard that telemedicine practice guidelines have been declared under Medical Council of India Act 2002 by the Board of Governors. And as it is spelled out, it is there to stay. Though the period when it got started is around COVID, it would seem that this is a temporary change, but in true sense, it is actually declared telemedicine is here to stay. It is happening in other countries. I'm going to give a quick sense, since I've been practicing telemedicine for the last 12 years, mainly for the corporates and all enclosed communities. Telemedicine was happening well. It was an informed society and it was a controlled zone. But now it is retail, it is public. It is more as a right from the user point of view. It is more as an option for each doctor to adopt telemedicine in their personal practices. It's an option, it's not a compulsion. But if you're practicing telemedicine, you need to abide by certain norms. I just want to bring briefly, since it's going to be a new normal for the medical practice, I'm going to share briefly about what are the 12 steps in order we'll try to understand. So receiving patient call under appointment. So here the point is, try to fix the appointment, get the appointment only under appointment responding to telemedicine calls. There's no necessity that any call which comes, it needs to be dealt like telemedicine. That is one of the comforting first element. And the client, typically the patient, has to upload the medical reports early on. It could be whatever the thing, maybe the personal handwritten note of I have these symptoms. This essentially brings in evidence that the first move has been from the patient and not the doctor, which is a very important norm from the telemedicine practice point of view. During the call, it is very important to identify each other. The patient need not be always calling for himself. It could be the spouse, it could be a relative, or a mother could be calling for the daughter or the son, things like that. Identifying who is calling for whom, and hence, and who is the doctor calling. So doctor also introduces themselves. The first activity what needs to happen after the call opens up, rule out emergencies. If at all emergencies, just inform them, call for an ambulance, I'm sending an ambulance, rest all things we'll see once the ambulance reaches. That's a vital triaging element. If it's not an emergency, then an explicit verbal consent. Something like, like on the phone, it'll be, are you okay going ahead with a telecon where I'm going to consult you? And if you need a diagnosis and prescription, I'm going to do that. Are you fine with this? That's the type of question, a consent-related question. And the patient, it's an audio-video call, patient has to say yes, or some affirmative changes, say yes, that movement. So that is something which works very good in law. Patient has consented. That will take a lot of risk away from the doctor, these steps, if it is followed this way. Then comes where, it's not an emergency, you know each other, and now it's coming to discussing symptoms. Symptoms also, there is symptom-based triage. Suppose there is a symptom which is showing instability, bleeding, or something, where you say, oh, I think the emergency is, there's a threat for an emergency. Then you're only suggesting, we can't spend a long time. You need to come to the hospital. Please, somebody has to accompany you. You can't come alone. And you can close the call there also. After that, if you think it's a chronic condition, there's no emergency, it's not an acute condition, at that time you can open up and listen. the person on the entire story, struggles, sufferings, symptoms, all the patient what has to share. And there is a way how we can elicit signs through guided physical examination. Patients can have blood pressure apparatus at home. They can have SpO2 monitors, so oxygen saturation. You can elicit signs, you can ask them to breathe deeply and whether they are able to do. You can ask them the 30-second breathing challenge, which is working good for the COVID-related telemedicine calls. Ask the person to take deep breath and hold for 30 seconds. If he is able to hold beyond 15 seconds, possibly it's not COVID. Less than 15 seconds, possibly threat of COVID is on. Make a provisional diagnosis, document it, e-medical record, either in a plain paper, you can WhatsApp it, or you can keep, or you use a digital health system, e-prescription, and wait for the patient to close the call. So these are the very few simple pointers on the way how you can use telemedicine. And if you follow these religiously, make it a habit, you are keeping yourself away from the wrong side of the law, and you're on the right side of the law. And this becomes a competitive way how you can connect to your patients. I mean, we are seeing patients not coming to us, doctors, but they're tolerating their symptoms. They're tolerating their diseases at home. They are also clueless. So we need to create these opportunities and see how we can make a good ecosystem. This is just a little example of my personal experiences on what happens over telemedicine. Just a little snapshots. Self-examination happening there. Reading reports. Medicines reconciliation. What was prescribed and what was used. How many were used. So that's a simple snapshot about what happens in a telemedicine call. And coming to the close, a simple message is, doctors, believe in your abilities, which are nurtured by your centering practices to wow yourself, wisdom of your own whole self. To come out of the pandemic of this contagion, online presence and telemedicine is the new normal. And these are the few things what could work to bring out the positive side of you in the midst of varieties of experiences happening, and as doctors try to play a role in the society. There's a wish coming your way, grow, develop, and evolve well actively with health, happiness, and fulfillment. I want to share a challenge with you. Of course, there are two assignments. You're going to do your personal virtues, the little experience what you have done to do more in detail. You'll identify your virtues. You choose your personal words, what typically explains your way of dealing with patients. You will also do your who am I check by getting a 90-second response from your near and dear, from your patients, from people around you. And I want to give you a challenge that why don't you create a 60-second video of yours where you're going to share about typically what you want to talk to your patients. Make it a small recording, audio video recording. Try sharing this audio video recording to your most closest patients. Taking all the inputs what you got from this particular session, yourself, how humbly you want to tell a patient about something. Maybe you're asking for the next follow-up appointment. 60 seconds of your recording, see for yourself how you find it. That's one challenge I want to give to all the listeners. And you need not share to anybody else. Keep it for yourself. You'll keep improving if you feel, a scope of improvement and all. Okay. So with that, I just wanted to close with what all possibilities as a personal profession for myself. These are the assignments which I'm accepting. So one is health assurance plans for doctors to manage their captive patient populations. All of you have rich patient populations database. You want to engage them. And most of your patients will have chronic disease conditions. So how you can engage them using telemedicine, using digital health, using principles of lifestyle medicine, if not lifestyle medicine as a practice, and functional health assessment, which patients are happy to do themselves. They'll not wait for symptoms for long. At the time of suffering early on, they'll be able to self-report you, and that will be the right timing where you can treat much better and show more positive outcomes. So continuing on that, prescribing devices and medical apps from the digital health point of view. I'm taking these assignments for doctors, for medical systems, hospitals. Prescribing information therapy. We are in a society where people come with knowledge, but most of the time this knowledge conflicts. So information therapy aligns the knowledge between the doctor and you prescribe actually information, the reading content, and your patients will read only that what you have given. Lifestyle medicine as a first line of assessment where people are happy to open up varieties of issues, what they are facing, and the acceptance of treatments is better. Compassionate medicine. I think you had a sense of this in the first slide, which I have shared. You can explore further, and you can adopt this in your system to your patients and your frontline staff also. Compounding pharmacy, medicines which are more natural to human body, more the way a doctor likes, the right dose, the right form, less side effects, more personalized compounds which a doctor can prescribe for patients, and medical hackathons. Lot many new discoveries which are coming. It's not easy just to read and practice. So there are medical hackathons is a good study, play, learn type of a zone where 100 doctors come together. They work on one thing like COVID-19. How do we deal? How do we use telemedicine for COVID-19? It can be a competition between 100 doctors within themselves. And in a nice gamified way, will pick up the right skills. So friends, these are the things which I wanted to share, and I'm almost done with the content, what I had. I open up to question, comments, critics. I see Tushar already is up with his video. Over to you, Tushar and Neeraj.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. This was a very unique talk. I'm sure even Neeraj will agree. And we've been having doctors as well as non-doctors in this spectrum. The doctors have been predominantly psychiatrists. This is the first time we actually have a physician talking to us. And of course, it was very intentional, right? I had spoken to you. So I
Yes.
can see that you live your talk a lot because the smile is very radiant, and I can recollect you from the MBBS days, and I never really knew that you're going to be capitalizing on the smile so much.
Whoa. I cherish that comment, Tushar.
Yeah. So now coming to the second, the early part of your talk where you were saying virtue-based practice, right? We were assessing virtues. A thought which came to my mind is that money seems to be a very important component of this whole doctor-patient relationship. So you could be treating in a corporate hospital or a corporation hospital or a trust hospital. I mean, there are so many platforms at which a doctor is offering treatment, and the
Sure.
remunerations are different. So a lot of time, I would say almost 70 to 80% of the time, the expectation of patients is just monetary concession. I think
Sure.
other virtues are appreciated, but they are completely overshadowed by this element of monetary concession. So do you have any, because the medical practice is monetized, right? To some level, and to each person his own, right? So where do these virtues stand, and where does this monetization of practice stand?
Absolutely. Fair question. I think that's what even the globally the people have been thinking about. But I would simply say that monetizing the virtues is essentially what is the success stories, all what we have heard. We know of poor people who have sold their farms, their homes, paid for the treatment, had a bad outcome, and still they were thankful to the doctors. I mean, the experiences might have been less, but wherever it has happened because virtues played the right role appropriately. I think I would just share this way, if people are asking for concession, That is an opportunity which the medical system, either the doctor himself or the support team, there is a counseling team and all, they can quickly sense that this patient is thinking it's all about money. Can we spend 10 minutes discussing what is the worth of the treatment the doctor is doing to that patient? Like if you're doing a TKR, knee surgery, can we talk about the quality of life which is going to improve now onwards throughout life to that patient? Otherwise, just been thinking just that, physical activity of doing a surgery, 5 days job, and for 5 days the doctor is charging, 8 lakh rupees, and doctors are freezing money. I see you going in a Bentley car. A 10-minute of a compassionate conversation, a question to the patient. How do you see life if your knee was without pain? And, the range of movements might come down, but you'll be able to walk better. If you're able to do the physiotherapy very well, the maximum recovery is possible. And we know we are trained to do that, to enable you get your best. Cooperate with me. Let me know what I can do from that health point of view. The conversation changes. Point is, we cannot stick to the conversation of money, and that's where many people are doing. We don't have time to talk, but the teams can be created. I think that's where when I say compassionate medicine, it might be not for an individual doctor where you might not have time. It could be for the practice system in that hospital where it can be nurtured. Did I answer your question, Tushar?
I think the beginning part of your answer itself sort of gave me the answer, because see, for each doctor, he will have his own way of handling the money matters. Some may be better equipped to handle it on their own. Some may give it away to their team. But there is no substitute for compassion, as what you are trying to say, right? Means whether you are billing, whether you are giving concession or not, compassion and virtue-based practice cannot be removed. What I mean is, let us say you give a discount of 20,000, it doesn't take away from the fact that you can take away compassion from the treatment.
I would put it this way, Tushar. See, all the professional conduct guidelines, all what you have, medical ethics and all, it all talks about how we relate as humans. It doesn't talk about you have a right to charge, is what it says, and closes out there. So we cannot change that. We are not telling that, okay, all those things are on paper and it's closed books, and we are going to create our own norms in practice. So I'm only talking about how you reintegrate back. It's not difficult to be done. It fetches back. I mean, today also, maximum number of patients, what you get is through word of mouth. Whatever digital health, whatever systems, what you do, it is the word of mouth which is the leading element which is bringing you patients for any doctor.
Okay. The second thing is on the biorhythm chart, which you said. So there may be some people who may be very high on some parts of the biorhythm and maybe very low, like 0 on the other part of the biorhythm. So how does that, like for example, somebody may be spending his entire COVID exercising and maybe wanting to have 0 online presence, or some person may be so comfortable with an online presence that he may be like 10 on 10, but for all you know, he may be 0 on physical exercise. So do you think there is a total score which matters here, or it's a balanced profile? You got the picture what I'm trying to say. So let us say
Sure. The reason why I use the wheels is essentially the whole is actually which makes the difference. Otherwise, there are factors which are playing, dynamically. Today the mood is good, tomorrow the mood is bad. So they're all dynamic. But overall put together, there is a consistency. Yes. So since we are talking about a new normal, where systems are coming to help, like Medical Council of India, no doctors has gone to them. Medical Council of India decided, having learned the experiences from China, from the US and all, it did wanted the doctors to get exposed. So most of the elements out there has come from the system. We have a challenge as individuals to shift, change to a new norm. I think that circle essentially, even it has given a thought that, okay, am I 0? Am I happy being at 0? Let me see tomorrow of what is a possibility if from 0, if I'm thinking 2, what is that 2? Can I survive that 2? Am I going to see any little benefit out there? My question to myself, I should be getting an answer. I think that's the approach in the overall thing which I have shared, which doesn't go away. It's not I'm describing. that is our opportunity. In the comfort zone, let's explore the opportunity. And you know what? Together, if somebody is using my consulting services, I can accelerate that process of change so that returning back to economy is one of the first priority to most of the doctors, and then surviving, and then how to capitalize as competitive, becoming competitive with those new traits, what you pick up. Those are the ways.
Neeraj, you have any questions?
Yes. I want to ask him about the telemedicine part. So I have heard that you have been doing telemedicine for a long time, and you were one of the activists. I should not say the word activist, but at least somebody who was basically in the forefront to activate telemedicine. And the COVID actually pushed it and accelerated the whole process.
Sure.
So you are saying about what platform do you use for telemedicine right now? Do you use WhatsApp? Because I think, according to the rules and regulations, it was a little confusing that we should be keeping records of telemedicine. But if you use WhatsApp, there is no record.
Yeah. So yes, I think what you're talking about is people who are fresh for the concept of telemedicine. WhatsApp is a known tool. And there are ways how WhatsApp can be used and be fitting within the legal norms also. Like, you can take an image, prescription, just take a photocopy, share it across, legal.
Yes.
You're only taking a consent. Patient also telling, you're fine with WhatsApp, I'm fine with WhatsApp, let's do this. And we jointly are taking the risk of whatever comes. We have agreed to use WhatsApp. That's the only thing what is required.
Okay.
So maybe your first message you're sharing, I'll be exchanging few of your prescription and the WhatsApp, is it okay? The response has to come okay. If the okay is not coming, you're not doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it becomes very even out there. But having said that, the opportunity in India, what we have is, since the systems are in favor, there is a national thinking happening about how ministries of technology, Ministry of Health work together to create these systems. And from that point of view, many systems are getting developed. I think most of you who've been doing state health insurance schemes, already there is a compulsion you have to do digital only, it's paperless. There it was a dictum where we couldn't say no. Otherwise, when I was in private insurance, I go to a doctor and say, you're increasing my work. No, don't talk of these things. Just tell that whether you're going to pay my bill. After that, come and talk to me. So in that private thinking, we tend to think that personally I can take my call. But here is the time right now. Paper can become formites, unnecessary things, documentation digitally is easy. It's only a matter of shifting. But each one have their option. WhatsApp also works. There are full-fledged authenticated digital health systems also. I think few of them I have shared earlier whom I'm working with. So I'll only name the nationalized ones who are creating standards and institutionalizing from the scientific approach. The Telemedicine Society of India is one, where I am working very closely with them. Digital Health India is another, who's creating digital health systems. Our records can be maintained. And these two entities want to work with the doctors. That's the role which I'm playing, connecting doctors in practice who don't have time to understand technology, and their technological thinking is happening, but it has to be fitting well to what the practices are. So that's the zone of opportunity.
So you feel it can be used for an individual doctor as well? For one person?
Today in WhatsApp, you can take payments also. You can send a link. You can get registered in Razorpay, which is again, it's a public entity. It's a nationalized one. So, and it's an Indian one, Bhumi, Pay, and all these things. And you can send a link and patient can open the link, pay online, and done.
In fact, IAP, Indian Association of Pediatrics, have now released a document where they are recommending you to use WhatsApp Business, a separate number, and register yourself on Paytm. So you get money on Paytm and WhatsApp Business you use as a telemedicine app. They are actually recommending this, the Indian Academy of Pediatrics. So that is one first question. Now I come to my second question about that circle. Yeah.
One question I wanted to ask you is Telegram has everything backed up automatically on cloud.
Yes.
WhatsApp doesn't have it on cloud.
You are right. Telegram is much better.
So should we do all the telemedicine on Telegram? Will it be a much better?
That is, you see, there are, in fact, if you ask me, I would suggest that I will do it on a platform which is made for this, like DocOn or Practo or Librate or whatever, whichever you want to use. But if you want to use, the reason for using WhatsApp is that if you see in your hospital and you go out and you see 100 people on the road, that 98 people are using WhatsApp today.
What's so you
That includes people working with you also.
I'll give you a scenario what has worked. Now, each one of you have your patient database.
Yes.
These patient database are suffering at their homes. You are aware of it.
You're
Is
right.
any of this app going to help you reach out to all your patients?
So the app which I used, that in fact, where I had a database of 12,500 patients built over the last 6-7 years, maybe 8 years. So that database I just put in one of the apps which I use. I would not want to name them. So I put in one of those, and SMS was sent to everyone. However, unfortunately, people don't read SMS nowadays.
Sure.
That is the problem. So what I did, I split my database into 4, and I put in the Google accounts of my 4 employees who were sitting at home in those days. I told them, you start WhatsApping everyone. Problem happened that one girl was so enthusiastic. She did 1,500 WhatsApp in one day. Her phone number got blocked. Her phone number got blocked. So this is technology related. Let me come to that virtue thing which you showed. So one thing which I did not understand is that, can you take us back to that slide, share the screen again? I wanted to discuss at that time, but I didn't want to break your flow.
Sure.
Biorhythm.
The telemedicine, right?
No, not the telemedicine. The first one. Iske baad.
Virtues.
Virtues, yes. Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
So this it's gone back to the other slide.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So let me see if I can annotate. So when you describe this circle, which you described, so what should be our aim? Our aim should be to become like this, or what happens if our circle is something like this? Can you see the diagram which I'm drawing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or my circle was something like this.
Sure. Yeah. So what? Let's analyze this circle. Okay. Now the inner circle.
Let me erase everything so that basically I can. Let me erase this and this is the circle. Let me erase this and make it another one. I'll make one more.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Just make. So my circle was something like draw. Yeah, draw. So my circle was something like this.
Circle is not declaring it to all other friends of ours.
That's all right.
I take your consent.
Yeah. Okay. Something like this.
Okay.
Or maybe a little like this.
Okay. Got it. So let's analyze this. So I think for each there are numerics. So things have become objective. Earlier they were subjective in the mind. Things have become objective, and there is a shape which has come. Now here, what you're seeing is now the strong points. Now honesty. You're strong at honesty. You're strong at understanding authentic, proven ways, evidence-based practices, and you care well. There's little scope to improve, but they are on the much higher side. Tolerance. You tolerate well. Now, if you put all these strengths together and you try and say, what am I? I'm Dr. Neeraj. How does it happen? How does these virtues work for me? You are able to write few statements about yourself. And this is now beyond these virtues now. That is your personal self. It can be a statement, a phrase which you believe that is you. That is one of the output which comes out of this first one. Yeah. You spend a little more time, you explain, okay, let me check tomorrow. Like I said, the affirmation, no? You check tomorrow 3 days. Am I right in identifying these strengths of mine? You'll correct it, polish it. So all that thing, many things are possible inside the circle. Now, things outside. Let's look at this. Kindness. You believe you are not kind to people. Now, if you ask a question to yourself, say between kind and acceptance, can you explain of what is the thing which is outside the circle, what you have, and can you characterize? Might be tough. But you can ask a question. If I be more kindful, if I accept what patient is telling more, can I see what happens? You want to experiment it. You don't want to jump to a conclusion. Next 3 days, 2 cases each day. Let me consciously try to be more kind. Let me accept whatever the patient says for the first 10 patients. Something will happen to you.
Okay.
That's where you have overcome, or you have grown. Or you might come back and say, the kindness doesn't work for me here. I remove kindness out of it. It doesn't work for me. My nurse has to be kind, not me. Could be. Yeah, that's your personal correction, enhancement, but every experience, it works towards bringing your whole self, which is vital. So your practice will definitely improve with whatever changes you're doing. And they are monetizable.
What about what this circle decides about this circle is something which I did not understand. How they are related. Means if you have a bigger circle, then you are taking care of everything.
Well, that's an ideal best, no?
Pardon?
Bigger circle is ideal best.
See,
suppose you see a doctor who is a role model, and I mean, this has come from evidence. This has been researched for all the good doctors, what they have done for the last century. So if you think of a role model, you listen to the doctor and you try to imitate. This circle is going to help you. How will I emulate and not imitate?
Okay.
So your inner thing will shine up better. See, like how in MBBS days, no, everyone wants to score 100 out of 100. Does anybody get 100 out of 100?
No, all don't get.
But yeah, you try 100, you move towards 60, you move towards 70. No, you settle at 80. Say, oh yes, I think that's the best I have done. Nothing different here.
So the bigger this circle means, I'll just draw again. So better this is, sorry, maybe like this. So this will become bigger. That is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to make the symptoms and sufferings and struggles of the patient much better. I understand those better.
Correct. That is at a personal level. But in practice, what happens, if I'm coaching a doctor or a medical team, practically what works is you want to relate of how it impacts to the patient. In fact, that symptoms, suffering, and struggles. If you're continuing with this as it is, are you able to improve the way the patient is struggling? Are you able to help out there? Are you able to make the patient feel the symptoms a little lesser? What difference? That is what is going to give you money, no? So what is the thing which impacts the patient so that you get what reflects back to you is sincere payment. As I said, I used an extreme example. There are patients who sell all the properties, pay up the doctor, and still they thank the doctor. There are those cases. Only thing there are very few of them possibly. That's where it is. What impacts the overall thing? I mean, I don't want to see the circle isolated only for the doctor's virtues. Struggles, sufferings, and symptoms of the patient, transference and reflecting back. I'll challenge you this way, Neeraj. Suppose I had used the same circle of virtues and replaced the patient with virtues, not symptoms, suffering, and struggles. What do you think will happen? It's a fight. If a patient also, we are looking at virtues, patient is also affectionate, patient also is open, patient also has authentic proven methods to prove that he is right, that framework itself is conflicting. But the fact that I have put symptoms, suffering, and struggles on the patient side, which means the professional self, and then the virtues, that framework itself, by design, it improves your practice in favor of you getting monetized and the patient feeling happy.
So basically, you are objectifying what we should be practicing.
You said it, Tushan. That consent, no? This consent, what you're seeing, no? Of patient's consent. Today, consent is a paper document for most of us, isn't it? But there is a psychological consent while paying the bill, Tushar, while paying the bill, paying with consent. Patient paying happily, feeling convinced that this treatment was done for my benefit. That also is a consent. We don't ask consent before bill.
When you say virtues in practice, I think it just doesn't mean the doctor, but his entire team, his healthcare providing system, his entire environment, which comes in contact with the patient.
Necessarily, the division.
That is essentially the nursing staff, the resident doctor staff, the housekeeping staff, and everybody.
All of them. But
Yeah. So I think this is a very important component of training to our subordinate staffs as well.
Sure, in a gamified way, study, play, and learn.
Yeah. So I like what Neeraj was telling you. We'll really appreciate if you can give a PDF printable copy of this and the biorhythm charts, so that we can send it across to people. They can print it out and keep it on their desk. I think
Absolutely.
that will really objectify what is happening, right? Neeraj,
Yes.
anything else you want to ask?
No, I think that's it.
So Ravi, it was a real pleasure reconnecting after so many years. We have been doing so many webinars. People have been telling us to have patience, to pray, to talk to ourselves differently, to meditate, to create a mindfulness. These have been our past motivational webinars. So you gave us the best remedy. Just smile.
Oh, you make my day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just smile, and in Art of Living they say, fake it till you make it. And Guruji says that the number of muscles required to smile are far lesser than the number of muscles required to frown. Right? So, and smile release endorphins in your body, so which are the happy hormones, and they boost not only your own self-esteem and the self-esteem of everybody around you. So I guess no matter what happens to us, no matter whether we are getting ventilator beds or not, or whether hospitals are billing 50,000 rupees a day for just keeping patients, and the number of cases are increasing, and we are frustrated with everything, we continue smiling in all odds. I think that is the take-home message today. And you will send us the PDF printable versions. I'm sure about it, of the virtues chart and the biorhythm. So all our listeners and the people who come and listen to it in future can print it out for themselves and document where they stand and where we would want to improve, and also use it for training of our staff, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and also in what way all our listeners can actually access your services would be actually very interesting if you could actually give some sort of a summary on that, and and then
Sure.
connect with you, because that part of your talk has remained a little bit gray. So how let us say a recovering nursing home now wants to increase profitability in the new environment, so how you
Yes.
can actually help them limp back to their previous balance sheets,
Precisely. Yeah, that's the intention. True.
right? Okay, right then. So with this, I take this opportunity to thank Neeraj again, Ortho TV, which is such a wonderful platform. I'm sure many, many more people keep coming and reviewing these talks, Ravi. So, and it's also live on YouTube. Thanks a lot for spending time with us. Thanks a lot, Neeraj.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity shared. Tushar was the first one who was engaged me, and happy to discover Neeraj, and same with the rest of the doctors who attended this session. Thank you.
Let's keep smiling.